Aloha mai kako. Welcome everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Moana Nui podcast. On this week's episode, we talk about bridging the gap, the importance of diverse stories for children with author and writer Crown Shepherd. She and I met. We are both children's book authors. And we're both out here hustling. We self-published our own children's book series for children of color, and I'm really excited to have her with us. So share this video, tell your friends about it, leave us some comments in the questions in the comments, and let's get started. All right, let's bring Crown on. Aloha, Crown, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. And yourself?
I am doing great. I am happy to be here talk about these children's books, and we're just honored to have you here as a writer and someone who I definitely admire the success that you have had with your book. I think we launched about the same time. You might have been a little bit before me, but when I saw your campaign on Kickstarter, your story, Black Boy, I really was so excited to see it. As someone who has a young nephew, we don't have enough books that reflect, who they are, what they look like, and to have some role models and stories to look up to. So thank you for joining us. We really appreciate having you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So let's just start off. Tell everybody, where you're at, where you're from, and what you're currently working on.
I am from cold Minnesota. It snowed today, and it snowed really bad 2 days ago, and I'm mad about it. But I've lived here my whole life, born and raised right here in Minnesota. And I'm working on a lot of oh my goodness, I'm working on a lot of different things right now. I'm currently working on a dot-to-dot book for Black Boy. I'm working on some word search books and some cursive writing books for Black children. And I think my next really big project to come out should be my comic book Crown.
Oh, nice. I didn't know you were going to do comic books too. That's awesome.
Yeah, I actually started doing comic books. That's
okay.
I started on. Crown was originally supposed to come out before Black Boy came out. But it just worked out where the artist was, more ready for Black Boy, and Black Boy, it started, and it was this fast moving train. And it never really stopped. Whereas, Crown was a little spotty, and the train had a few stops and everything. So I started off with that, and just Black Boy kind of surpassed her in production. And so
that's awesome. So have you always wanted to be an author, or is this something that's you've come into? For myself, it's been more later on in life?
No, I always wanted to be one. Since I was 8, I wanted to be an author. I've always written, for myself, poetry, stories. Since a little kid, I knew I wanted to write books. I always just was fascinated with how I could envision this world in my mind based off of words. So that was always magic to me. So I always wanted to create that type of magic.
Yeah, well, you're definitely creating magic with your book for sure. I just really liked all of the different positive images that you used for children, and it's called Black Boy, but it's still a universal story that can be applied to children of any background or ethnicity. But of course, it's super important for our Black boys because we have a lot of negative imagery and narratives that are consistently being put out there. So to have books like yours are really important. And, you know, so thank you for investing your time and your energy and, you know, just your love for our young generation. I'm sure there are many families out there who proudly have your book in their in their kids collection for sure. My nephew being one of them. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your kind words. Yeah, it was definitely a labor of love for me. A lot of people don't know. If you follow the Kickstarter, you might know, but like each page that is depicted is one of my nephews or godsons. Like that, they're in this. It's like an actual living, you know, little black boy that possesses, you know, that looks like that character in the. And that was extremely important to me because you know, like you said, I did make this book with black boys in mind. Like they were my target. But it is that book that I feel can teach the world because we have, like you said, we have so much bad imagery for black boys. That's all they see, or they're only told they can be certain things. Like they can only be a rapper or a football player, you know, or, you know, an athlete. They're like certain things they're told that they could be. And I didn't want that. Like that for me, I have over 20 nephews. And I never want them to feel boxed in. I never want them to feel like they only have certain options. I want them to realize like the world is theirs. Like it is yours, baby. Like go and grab it. Whatever it is you want to be. Like you want to be a nurse, go be a nurse. You want to be a drag queen, go be a drag queen. Like, I mean, do you, but just know like you're not boxed in. And that was the whole point for me was Black Boy, was to let my nephews know, like, one, that there was something that they could pick up and feel seen. Like they hey, that's me, looking back at them in a positive light. And then also I wanted to give them something where it gave them hope and it gave them a positive imagery for anything. Like it told them they can be an astronaut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And doctor. And like I have met little boys who's, you know, who have told me and their parents have stated that they didn't even, their kids weren't even interested in astronauts until they read the book, and now like that's all they want to learn about. They want to learn about the stars, they want, you know, and stuff like that. And it's opening a world, it's allowing them to understand like there are all these possibilities. Like you don't have to just be a rapper or a an athlete, you know what I mean? You can be a firefighter. And one little boy told me, I didn't even know I could be a firefighter. Like, I didn't know. He's like, I love firefighters. And I didn't know I could be one until there was a Black boy in your book. And he's 11. Like, he's 11 years old.
Right.
And so, like, it's just, yeah, it's just so much. I'm just so happy with the response that I've gotten. And just, like, it surpassed my expectations.
That's, I mean, like, I think I could not be like following all of it, but I mean, you've definitely sold over 1,500 copies, and as a self-published author, that is no easy feat. It is a hustle out here. So, like, tell us about like what have been some of the ways, because I feel like being a self-published creator, you have to be creative in your marketing strategies and how you get your book out there too. So, can you share a little bit about like what you found to be successful?
The biggest thing that I did, because like, you know, I launched my book in smack dab in the beginning of COVID. Like, so literally COVID hit, my book hit, and panic set in. And I'm like, how am I gonna do this? Because online selling is the hardest thing to do. Like I sort of mastered it a little bit. I've sort of gotten down my audience or whatnot, but it's still like I'm still only the tip of like this huge iceberg that is, you know, online marketing. But I think my biggest thing is that I've literally been out slanging books. Like at the beginning of the summer, I live in Minneapolis. So like like 2 weeks after my book was published, George Floyd was killed here in Minneapolis. And we fled to the streets. Like we just fled to them. We fled the streets with protests, and I was out there. And I initially started handing my book out. Like we just like started handing the book out to little boys at protests just for free, like signed copies of them with special like little notes in them, just giving them hope. And then shortly after all the protests, all of these like outdoor pop-up events started happening. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just kind of supporting Black businesses and just the businesses that kind of got destroyed during the protest time. And I kind of just started signing up for them. You know, they were calling for vendors, and I'm like, I'm a vendor. Like I have something to sell. You know what I mean? Like, so I like it was Juneteenth weekend.
Right.
I ended up booking like all that weekend, like Thursday through Sunday. I like had events, like different events that I had booked to just sell my book, and I practically sold out at every event. Like I brought like a case which like holds 50 books. And you know, I'm like, okay, if I sell like 10, I'm gonna be excited. But like I practically sold out um every event, like 50 books every event. So like in that moment, like light bulb came on, and I'm like, you know what? I am going to scour the internet for events. And that's literally like I went home, and that's literally what I did. I scoured the event. I signed up for farmers markets. I signed up for anything that was calling for a vendor to sell. Like if they were asking for it, I signed up for it. And since Juneteenth, I've had an event every weekend, like where I've set up a booth or a table and sold my books. And that's my biggest strategy. Like that's how I literally got to 1,500 books, and like I think I sold 1,000 books in like less than 3 months, like a little over 3 months. And that's just literally because I was setting up every weekend and just bringing the books to the people. You know what I mean? Like I just any event I could get my hands on or get into, I was there. I paid the fee. I set up my books. I had my little display, and off I went. You know, I've recently started adding other books onto the table just because, you know, my success, I want to share it.
Yeah.
Um and then I just saw the need, like people would flock to my table just to talk about like how they can't find books for their kids and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, I know all these great books, and like they're those hard to get books. You know what I mean? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to get books, but like books you don't know about. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
A lot of people didn't know about my book until I was standing out in a, you know, on a corner selling it in a table. And that's how they found out about it. And so like that's been my whole marketing strategy like this entire time. I've just kind of been bringing it to the people, and it's honestly opened up so many opportunities, like just from the people that I've met. I've gotten school visits off of just doing my booth. I've gotten TV interviews off of doing my book, readings, you know what I mean, online reading, live readings, like just different things, just because I'm there. You know what I mean? They don't have to search for me. I'm right there. So I think that's my biggest thing. Like that is my biggest success story. And I think why I've been so successful is just like I just didn't let COVID stop me. Like it wasn't like I couldn't go out of state, but there were plenty of events in state that, you know, most of my books, I'd say 85% of my book have been sold right here at home. Like it's not even, I haven't even reached outer states like how I've reached at home yet. So
I love it. That's so beautiful. I mean, that's powerful. Like to have a strong home base, that's the place you want to be, you know, as a business owner, as an author, as a creator. Because like you said, that's really just the tip, right? Like you know, you haven't even gone, you know, beyond your boundaries yet. That's that's quite impressive. Um, and just that mentality of not letting, you know, those obstacles, you know, trip you up. And you know, they're there, you acknowledge them, but that doesn't mean that you let it stop, you know, what you need to do. um
I couldn't let it stop. All I kept thinking was that I had 1,500 books sitting in a warehouse that I had to pay for every month.
Yes.
Like, I'll be damned if I'm paying more money than I'm making off of these things, at this point, because it's like you already have to make up for production,
Right.
And so in making up for production, then you have this other bill to have them stored and distribution. So I was like, no. There's no way these books are just gonna sit in this warehouse. Like, they're going somewhere. Like, they were gonna go somewhere. They were getting out of that warehouse. Like,
Oh my God.
necessary.
I know that's right. Yeah, I got mine kind of just before COVID hit too. I mean, and for me, I have 3,000 of these things, right? And I still have close to 3,000 of my books because I personally haven't been able to get out just because of health reasons and things like that. But, man, like, and the only reason I'm probably not as stressed is because they're sitting in my basement, right? I actually have room for but yeah, when you have those expenses that need to be paid, these books need to be moving, right? So I absolutely love that we were able to connect for Juneteenth, that we brought together a nice group of lady authors, and we were able to like cross promote and help get the word out about their books. And I think I saw a couple of them on your table now, right? Is that correct?
I've added Dr. Artika Tyner's books to the table. Justice Makes a Difference. That was the book she showcased during Juneteenth. And then I added Carmen Maple's book, Gigi's Little Dreamer.
That's right.
We recently, this weekend, added to the table is Papa's Fishing Day by you. So I'm really excited about that. That's added. Join the table. Get some of those. We'll get some of those books out of your basement. No problem.
No, yeah, I really appreciate that. Like, to me, the collaboration and networking is so amazing. It's the part that I love the most about being a creator, is meeting other people and just kind of bouncing ideas off, like sharing these experiences. How can we build together? Was that your kind of thought, like when you decided to bring more authors in? Were you trying to accomplish something? Like, do you have a bigger goal of, I don't know, maybe having a distribution company?
I mean, as part of my writing dream, I've always wanted to own my own bookstore, diverse bookstore. I mean, that's still a far off dream. I don't see that, happening anytime soon, just for the simple fact that bookstores are kind of dying off anyways.
Yeah.
Who knows if that's really going to be a dream, but I kind of feel like I'm being forced into the dream. And I don't mind it. I honestly don't know how I started adding books to the table. It was my editor for Crown, my comic book. He also writes and publishes, or helps author publish children's books. So all diverse children's books. And he doesn't live here anymore, and he came into town, and we were talking, and I don't even know how the conversation got to me just adding these books, but I ended up leaving our little meeting with like 6 cases of different books. So it was, again, that whole, okay, I have these cases, like I have to get rid of them. So it was just like, I had a really big event coming up that weekend. It was the Black State Fair. And here in Minnesota, it was the first time we had ever done something all Black vendors. It was kind of a big deal here. And that weekend was the weekend I chose to add those, I think it was 3 different books to the table. And within, I think, 2 days of the Black State Fair, and like that first day, I sold out everything.
Wow.
Everything I brought, my books, their books, completely like sold out. I think that first day, like I sold 30 books of one of their books, and it was just craziness. And then like the next day, I brought double and practically like came back with only like 10 books. Of the 4 titles that I had on the table. And then, I was like, I just saw the need, like people, like not only just Black families, but a lot of white families and other cultured families are trying to introduce more diverse books into their children's libraries. So it wasn't even like the Black Safe Air wasn't even like it was just Black people buying the book. Like I have, of all races buying the book. So then it was like, okay, well, I know all these other authors, you know what I mean? And I know how hard it is to be an independent author, and you're doing it all by yourself. And a lot of, independent authors have to work full-time jobs. Like this is part-time. And at the moment for me, it's full-time. So it's just like, why not help them? You know what I mean? I am in a position to be at these events. I am in I'm already there. My book is already on the table, and my book isn't like having their books on my table isn't going to hurt the sale of my book. You know what I mean? And I've, so it was just like I've slowly been adding more and more books. I don't even know. I think I'm up to about 10 books, maybe 12 on the table now. Well, I don't know, because I sold out of a lot over the weekend, and the snow I haven't been able to re-up on a few titles. Crap. So at the moment I've got about 10 to 12 titles on the table that I, put out on the table and help authors sell. And I love it. I get more excited when I sell one of their books than when I sell one of mine, because I have one author who her book is maybe 2 years old, and she's been sitting on about 5,000 copies that whole time.
Wow.
She kind of reached out to me and she was like, I will give you 50% of my commission if you can get rid of these. I didn't take that, but it was just like, that's how desperate she was. Like if you can, work your magic and, help me get rid of these, then do so. And I think I've had her books for about 3 weeks, and I think I've sold about 75 of her titles thus far. So I'm happy to help. I know how it is, and I don't know. I look at it as good karma too.
Absolutely.
I'm helping people, and that good karma will come back and help me. And I don't know, just during my journey of making Black Boy, I had a lot of help. You know what I mean? It's not easy. It is not easy to produce a book from start to finish. It is expensive. You know what I mean? And if I didn't have the support and the help that I had, Black Boy wouldn't be what it is. And I wouldn't be in the position to have the opportunity to sell other authors' books. So, and then I like having books that nobody else really have. Like, you can find it online or you can find it on Amazon, but you have to search for it. So it's not like I'm not sitting at this place with all these, best-selling books, even though these are best-selling books in the standards of, what society or time says, you know what I mean? Like, these aren't books you see in Target and everywhere. So like, if you want this book, I'm your girl. Like, you want it, I'm the only one that's got it. Like, I'm the only one that's gonna find it, especially with the books that I'm getting from out of towners like you. Like, if they don't know you and they don't know to search for your book, they're not gonna find it.
Right.
It's not like, I could be standing outside of Barnes and Noble selling the books that I sell. Barnes and Noble doesn't have it.
Right.
Like I like that too. You know what I mean? Like, I like that aspect of it. Like, I have exclusive books. Like, yeah, you can get it elsewhere, but you don't really know where to search for these books. You know what I mean? I have them right here. And so, and I think that's a big part of my success too, is that I've had books that are diverse books, that are beautifully written books. You know what I mean? By the author of the heritage of that book, and they can't get them anywhere else. Like, and when you look at a children's book, you want to thumb through it, and those first few pages always catch them. Like, it never fails. It's always going to catch them. Like, and that's why I'm excited to put your book on the table, because your book is the first book that I have on the table that's bilingual, like that has both English and I'm not quite sure.
It's Hawaiian. Hawaiian.
Hawaiian. Okay, I wasn't sure if there was like a special word for it. But yeah, this is the first bilingual book. I think it would do really well just because of all the different aspects that you put into it. And then it's not something they can go into Target down the street and buy. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be able to get your book. You know, they can go to your website and get it, but like to have it right there at my fingertips, like, yeah, you're not gonna, no, you can't go down to Target and get this. You want it, you gotta get it right now. And like I think that's the big appeal with it too, especially with a big part of my clientele are teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the teachers, I mean, they just eat it up because it's like, oh, no other teacher that I know has this book, or no school has this book. Like, oh, I'm gonna, this is amazing. I have this book, and then I get my authors to sign them. So like a signed book too is like rare. Like they can't go to Target and get a signed book. You know what I mean? But at my booth, you can get a signed copy of the book from the author. You know what I mean? So like there's just, I think, really good aspects of it, and that's kind of what I like. I don't know. I'm kind of just letting this thing grow. Like it's kind of happening as it goes. I'm actually trying to look. I'm looking into adding some comic books to the table. Because I get a lot of, I have children's books. And I get a lot of, do you have anything for older kids? Like older kids. I need older kids, like I need, and it's mainly like boys. It's like, I need something to engage my older boy. And I'm just like comics. And they're like, they're over the Superman. And I'm like, no, indie comics. It's indie comics. Like I'm telling you, they're like indie. I'm like, there are tons. I mean, tons of comics like out there, like amazing comics, like that your kids can be engaged in.
Right.
Like that, like are rare. Like nobody else is gonna have them but your kids. So like I'm adding that to the groove of everything because I just see like there's a demand. People want the books, like traditional publishing houses and traditional like bookstores say, there's no need for no want for diverse books. But I mean, I always say they haven't met me because there's not an event I go to that I don't sell 10 plus books. And that's just like, and that's like an 8, like the longest event I've ever been at, 8 hours. So in like 8 hours, if you guys can't sell it, I don't know what is. And I think it's because that's all I offer. I don't have anything else. Like it's diverse books. That's what you're getting. That's what you want. If you're at this table, you're getting some diversity in your life. Get a little swirl in there,
No, I absolutely love that. And I was actually wondering if you were going to do comic books because I actually have a couple, friends that are creators that I would love to recommend for you. You probably already know some of them. But yeah, I think they would be open to having, another avenue to get their project out there. All of us indies, that's the collaboration is a big part of our success, I think.
It really is. It really is, and I think that's a good way for us to help each other grow. Also, like what I'm doing, like, when the world does open back up and you are back out there, and you are having booths and you're at events and you're doing table, other creators who have books. Bring their books on. You can get 20% commission. Like, hey, if I sell your book, I'll take 20% of the commission. The rest of it goes to you. You know what I mean? But that's a way for you to get, like, that means your book is in an entirely different state at an event, making money without you having to do anything. And the way I look at it is if you as a creator can get your book onto 10 other people's tables, you know what I mean? And you're adding those 10 books to your table. Do you know the growth that you all could have, the networking that you could have? You don't know who could pick up your booth or your book at a table you're not even at. Like,
right.
there, but still reach out to you because you got your things in there, you got your book. Oh, we want to reach out to you. I had one of my authors reached out and said that a school here in Minneapolis reached out to her for a school visit.
That's awesome.
For a Zoom school visit, because that's how they're doing it now. And it's just like she would have never got that opportunity if her book wasn't on my table and that teacher didn't buy it. So it's just like we need to stop thinking that because there's other authors or other books on your table that it's gonna hurt your sales. It's really not. Because if somebody's going to buy your book, they're going to buy your book regardless of what else is on the table. And in my experience, because you are the author, they're going to buy yours over any other book anyways. Like I've had people come to my booth and they've picked out, I'm not the type of person, I don't go when they come to my booth, I'm not like, oh, and I wrote Black Boy, Black Boy. I let them peruse.
Mm-hmm.
A certain book, oh, they pick up Gigi's Little Dreamer. I tell them that it's about a little girl and her grandma. And I give them descriptions because that's the book they're looking at.
Right.
And if they pick up my book, then I'm like, yeah, that's my book. I wrote it. That's when I initiate that conversation. And 9 times out of 10, they still buy the books that they were originally going to buy. And they want to buy my book just because they get to get an autograph right there from the author. They get to get a picture with the author. The author is right here, so they want to pick it up. So your book is going to sell regardless because you're there selling it.
Yeah.
Putting other authors' books on your table not only helps with your karma, it helps with your exposure because you can do a deal like, okay, you have my book, I have your book. We don't take, and then we take 20% commission. We take 10% commission. We take no percent commission,
Right.
Networking all the way in another state, or you're getting cash by selling that book too. You're making a little bit of money off of just selling that book. I have books on my table that are like $5. I only make maybe $1.50, $1.25, but it's something, you know what I mean? And for me, it's not even about the money. I just love the fact that, some author book is in the hands of somebody right now.
Right.
And I did that. Like that's because of me. So I like that. That gives me good goosies.
Yes, I absolutely love that you're driving that home about having someone else's work with yours is not at a detriment to your own. Like, because I feel like I've seen that mentality so many times, and I'm like, guys, partnership, like stop being small, you're already out there. How can you help somebody else? It doesn't cost you anything to do it, like it's just about working together. And man, so I'm very happy to have a like-minded like-minded woman to be partnered with. It's amazing for sure. Yeah.
Well, we gotta support each other. Like that's the biggest thing, especially as indie authors and stuff like that, because it's hard. We're competing with traditional people that say there's no want nor need for our book, and it's hard to prove that. You know what I mean? We're the only ones that can prove that, and we got to support each other in proving that, because I don't know. I don't know. It feels good. Like honestly, I just tell people do it one time. It feels good to sell somebody's book. There are times where people come to my booth. They don't even buy my book. They don't even look my book's way because they have a daughter or they have a grand. My book's for a boy. You know what I mean? So they don't even look, but I still sell a book. You know what I mean? And it makes me feel so good. Like I love randomly like hitting up my authors that I work with and be like, yo, I sold out of your books. Like I sold 20 books. You know what I mean? Like it makes me feel like I feel accomplished. I feel hella good. And it just feels good when they get excited. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I know what it's like to, go for, that period where you're not selling any books, because like I said, if you're not out there, like hand-to-hand sales are your number one. They're always going to be number one. People, like anybody who's done events will tell you I've sold more in a day doing an event than I have ever online and stuff like that. And so like those people that have been stuck in that rut on that online tip, and then they finally, and they get that message from me like, hey, I'm all sold out of your books. I need more books. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's crazy. It's excitement. Like I have one book that I have on the table, like, and all the sales from that go to support a nonprofit. So
Oh,
the nonprofit is able to run is from the sales of this book, and I can help with that. You know what I
right.
mean? I am helping with that. You know what I mean? I've sold 20 of her books thus far, and so and selling those 20 books, like that money is helping her nonprofit stay alive. It's helping it continue to do the work that it's intended to do. So people just need to get over that, like that whole like it's gonna take away from me, because it's not. Like you got to think about like Target has their own brand, but then they have 50 other brands inside the store. You know what I mean? Like, do you if you think Target was like, no, we're only gonna sell our brand and that's it, do you think Target would be who Target is?
No.
No. I'm like known like to certain people as the book lady. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think I would have gotten to that extent if I wouldn't have added other people's books to my table. Like there's a farmer's market I go to, and there's the two little white boys that they bought Black Boy, Black Boy. It's their favorite book. They tell me every time they see it, they love it. But it's not even that. They come every time I'm at that farmer's market, they come and they buy a new book.
Ah.
I've done it. I think I did it July, August, September, and October. So 4 months, they got 4 new diverse books. Each month they got a new book from me that was diverse. And they love it. Like they love, like every month that I saw them, they were excited to see me back at the farmer's market to tell me about their new book. You know what I mean? And like the things that they learn from that new book. And it's like beautiful. Like it's beautiful. And they wouldn't have gotten that if I would have just stayed with Black Boy, Black Boy. If I would have went for those 4 months and only had my book, one, I wouldn't have had 2 new friends, and their world wouldn't have been expanded to the point where, their parents are telling me that they are going on Black online stores to buy their books because their kids don't want the mundane white books anymore.
Right.
They like the diverse stories. Because they're not the same. They're not what they've been hearing for years and years and years. They're getting new, revived, different types of stories. That's exactly what the mom said to me. She was, they had bought, Justice Makes a Difference was the last book that they had bought from me. And she was like, just the story and what they learned in Justice Makes a Difference, about the old civil rights leaders and stuff like that. She was like, they would have never learned that. They wouldn't have learned it in school. And she was like, they wouldn't have learned it in any other book that I would have bought them before we met you and started buying books from you. So like their whole perspective on books changed just because I set up a booth.
Right.
So it's like, I encourage people to set up booths. Some places have farmers markets all year long. Ask them, find out a way to get in there. Most farmers markets want to help out, especially when it comes to like the diverse movement. Like milk that stuff for what it's worth.
For sure.
Diversity, and they want your books. People want your books, people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because for me too, like it's the part that I love most is hearing, from the kids and the parents and just the feedback that you get on the book. It makes like all the hard work so worth it. Like all those times when we're maybe doubtful like, if it's even gonna work. Are they gonna like this story? I don't know. Like these things that we tell ourselves. But then when you just get that fresh perspective, they're like, "Oh my gosh, we love this book!" Like we thought, I'm not gonna give too much spoiler, but we thought the shark was gonna be something else, and it wasn't. So, and yeah, because we've been conditioned to think a certain way, and so yeah, the diverse perspectives of these stories are critical, especially for the kids. Like, I mean, you've said it, right? Like these little kids who would not have known about this and are now interested, and who knows what what that one book or that one story, what that will take their life, the path that will, lead down, right? Like they might become some great allies, people of color, or, like help to put, make things happen, and using, whatever they might become, as an older adult and everything. So to me, it's just a promise, right, of hope, of something that we have not yet seen. And so I really love your spirit and what you've been doing. It's very, parallel to a lot of the things that I love about, I might not be out in the market, but it's one of the reasons why I started podcasts. Like, how can I amplify these voices of these people whose work that I love so much, I can't be out in the streets, but I can be here on these internets trying to build this online presence. So
I think we gotta help any way we can. Because our kids need it, like, and not just black kids, I've been selling an Asian book from a Hmong author also, and just the feedback that I get from Hmong parents, or the What Color Is Your Hijab is a book Somalian writer.
yes.
And just the reaction from Somalian parents and kids when they see the book, because it's a book written by somebody with their background that gives respect, like it's accurate, you know what I mean? So like that means something, and it's all about the representation, like no matter where it's coming from, like the Hawaiian aspect from it, black, Asian, they need to see themselves represented in these books. And not only do they need to see themselves, the world needs to see it, because there's no hope for our generation and above. They're set in there, a lot of them are set in the way that they are thinking. And if we're going to have any type of real change to our society, it's going to start with the kids. And I firmly believe that starts with books.
Yeah.
Books. The fact that a little white boy can pick up my book and be in love with my book, and see black children and black men represented in positive aspects, allows their mind to formulate the fact that, okay, a black man can be a doctor. You know what I mean? Because not only does society tell black kids that they can't be certain things, society tells everybody else that black people or black men can't be certain things. So it's not even just the mentality of our children that we need to change. We need to change the mentality of other people, and seeing these positive representations, like allowing a book to say a black man can be an astronaut, allows any child to be able to pick up that book and be like, black boy, what do you see? I see an astronaut. He's a black man. That's a black man, mommy. You know what I mean? They need that type of representation. They need to understand that that we're all human. It doesn't matter the color of our skin. Like, we want the same things. We want our kids to grow up and be successful in whatever it is that they want, that we want for them. And that's just, we need it. Like, that's just what I'm trying to say, is like it's so important. It's not even funny, like how important it was. And I knew it was important when I wrote my book, but I didn't realize how important it was until like I was out there and like I was meeting people who had read my book or heard the story, and just like, and hearing like how my book or a book that I sold them impacted them. And this is, people of color and white people. Like, it's been very impactful. And I just think it was Black Boy dropped at a, like, unfortunately at a very stressful, hard, but good time. Like, he dropped when he was supposed to.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, what would you recommend to someone who's thinking about writing a book but is not quite sure how to start, or or is feeling intimidated by the whole thing?
What advice? You got to do it. I mean, that's the best advice I can give you. There are a lot of online sources that can help you, free and paid for. I'd say do your research, because there are vanity presses out there. Okay, back up the train. My first advice is do it yourself. If you're a diverse writer, do it yourself. Don't go traditional, because when you go traditional, you lose control over everything. And I'm a firm believer that the white men sitting at those tables making those decisions can't make decisions for my community. They don't know what's best for my community, because they told me that my book wouldn't sell if each page had a different Black boy on it. But they were wrong. You know what I mean? They don't know what your community needs more than you do. So do it yourself is my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice would be do your research. Because there are people out there scamming in everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna scam you. There are things called vanity presses. They will 9 times out of 10 scam. No, 10 times out of 10 they scam you. But then there are also independent publishing houses that get masked as vanity press and aren't. You're gonna spend money. Okay, if you're doing it yourself, you're gonna be spending about 10 G's if you want a quality book.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like, people, like, you will see on the internet, and it drives me absolutely crazy when people say, oh, you shouldn't pay to publish your book. Well, then how is it going to get published?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, there are vanity presses out there, but they're pretty easy to spot. You know what I mean? Over like an independent publishing house. If it's your first time, I recommend an independent publishing house to guide you, because you don't know what you're doing. You don't, and it's not easy. Like, I was an independent publishing house, and I learned so much that I didn't know. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big part of my success also. Because I did put in the money to make sure I got exactly what I wanted, and I got the guidance that I needed, because there were, look, like, there are trim sizes in pages, like, there's a lot, you know what I mean? From idea to finished product book, you go through a lot. And so I say get guidance. Like, that's my biggest advice. Get guidance if it's your first time. For the guidance, if you know somebody who's been through it and can help you through it free, go for that. But that's very rare because it's a lot. So a lot has to happen. So I say yes, pay. You got to pay your dues to get your book. Like, traditional, they spend 30 grand on a children's book.
Right.
Just to put that out. Like, and you probably won't ever see that back. But if you're a hustler, you could see your 10 G's for your independent book back within a few months.
You're a perfect example of that.
I am. Like, I really am. Like, I recouped mine in a month. Like, everything I spent on my book, and I did crazy things like music videos and book commercials, and I was doing all types of crazy shit. So, like, I spent a little more than that, but I mean, you can make it back, because I mean, books are good money, people.
Yeah. I mean, and especially after you get over the first order, after that, like, you no longer have to recoup production, right? It's just the cost of printing now, which is not that much if you know the right printers to do it and the right strategies to do that. So,
and that's where the guidance comes in, people. Guidance.
Yep. Absolutely.
I just know a lot of people who didn't have guidance, and they spent a lot more money in the long run than I did, and I had people who mocked me and told me, oh, you're with the vanity press, and I'm like, okay, but I spent probably the same amount as they did on their books for production, and I've sold way more than they did.
Right.
And a lot of it was guidance, you know what I mean? There are certain things I wouldn't have known, like a press release, having a whole press kit. I wouldn't have known about no press kit if it wasn't for them. I didn't know about a press kit until they're like, oh, it's press kit time. Oh, what does that mean?
Absolutely. That's something I need to work on myself. I'm like, I'm gonna get this press kit together one day. But yes, we can talk about that, because I'm gonna pick your brain about that.
I'm just saying, there's like guidance. That's probably my key. My two big advice is do it yourself, but get guidance. You know, and there are people out there that will guide you. You're gonna need to pay for it, but it's worth it. You know what I mean? I don't know a lot of people that went with an independent publishing house and didn't say that was worth it. And when I say independent publishing house, that's not a vanity. Vanity prices usually take your copyrights and they usually take your publishing rights. Independent, they don't. They don't want nothing but your money. That's all they want.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, to manage your project, to help guide you. And honestly, you'll only really need to do it once. I don't feel like I'll need it again. I'm actually in the process of like helping a few authors publish their book. I'm probably gonna open my own company, you know, to help guide people. Like you really only need to go through it once. Because you do all of it. Like they're literally there to guide you. You do it all. You do your press release, you do I hired my own illustrator. Some of them have their own. You do everything yourself, but they guide you. You know, they guide you so that you don't have those trip ups, you know. And you pay for the illustrator and the editor and the design and formatting and printing. Like you're gonna pay. Don't ever let anybody tell you you're not gonna pay. I hate when people are like, "Oh, don't pay. If you have to pay for your book, you're being gypped." No, because a lot of times people don't even realize with the traditional, you pay for that too. They give you a check, and then you don't get any royalties until your whole project is paid for.
Right.
And that's all the marketing. That's why I say traditional is $30,000 for a book because you're doing marketing, advertising, top of the line, everything. Like you pay all that. They need to get their money back before they start cutting you a check.
That's right.
The difference is, as soon as the books is printed, I get to start cutting my own checks.
Yeah, I know that's right.
Like I don't have to wait for them to tell me what was sold. I know I'm in control. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I will wholeheartedly support that advice. Absolutely. You have to invest in yourself, and that's how you should look at when you pay for your guidance. It's an investment, and basically what you're investing is your money so that you can save your time, because the time you cannot make back. You can make your money back. Like you can always find ways to make more money, but you cannot get 1 minute of your time back, and that is the most valuable thing you have in your life. So. Budget it in, people. Budget it in.
most definitely.
Yes. Well, guys, you just got like basically a self-publishing lesson, a really brief one, but like she dropped a lot of nuggets. So you guys should definitely be taking notes if you have ever thought about creating your own children's book. I get people asking me that like occasionally. I just had someone ask me that earlier this week when I asked them all the questions, like, what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? What's your budget? How much are you trying to put into this? How much time are you willing to commit? I just started asking them those questions, and it's so funny how quickly people back up. It's like, yeah, it's not easy.
It's not. I agree. I tell people all the time we need more people. Don't be intimidated by it. I mean, hard work is its own reward, because when I tell you, holding your book in your hands for the first time, I don't have kids. So I just feel like that is what it's like.
Right.
And like for me, it was so surreal. Like it's still a moment, like it's still top moment of my life, because it was hard work. It was days where I didn't think it was gonna happen. When I was done, I'm like, I'm over this, stressed out. But to hold that finished copy, that's everything right there. That's your blood, sweat, and tears. And then just to hear not even the adults, but little kids love them some books and some authors. Like they don't even like, to you, if you write a children's book to a kid, you're a celebrity. You're a star.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. You are the man. And then if it's a book that they love, then you are everything. Like, I've always had like little kids love on me, but like when I go back to like certain events where, I frequent quite a bit or something, or I see like a little kid who has seen me on the news or something, like they flip out. Like I've had a little boy like hug me. I've had one little boy tell me, "You're the book lady." One little boy told me, "Oh, you wrote my book. I'm in that book." And I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yeah." Flipped to a page. He said, "That looks just like me." I mean, it looked just like him, dreads, everything. But just to hear them be excited about the like your book, something you created, bro, I'd be crying. I'd be at events, whole tears, like, oh, having little kids like recite your book to you, like it's just like it's worth the hard work, you guys, and they need it. Like, just think of yourself as a kid. A big reason why I wanted to write, and a big reason why I went children's book avenue first was because we didn't have it as a kid. We didn't have those books that, had that type of representation as a kid. And just to see the joy in little kids' faces when they see a book that represents them, or when they feel themselves as that character in the book, it's like, boy, it's Christmas Day. What to do with themselves. Like it is a joy to watch. Like I've watched little kids crack my book open right in front of me and be like, the world just falls away.
Mm-hmm.
See, they turn the pages and you can just see what is happening to them, like on their faces. Like, I've had little kids as little as 12 years old, 11, tell me like, I've never had a book that had a little boy like me in it. So they want it, they need it, and y'all need to do it. Because I mean, like, what's the best way to get people? It's a lot of money, guys. You can make a lot of money. Because hardcover book you can price at up to $15 or more.
Yeah.
That's a pop. And if you go about printing right, you can get your books as low as $2 a book for printing. You do the math.
So true.
Just saying, you do the math. You know what I mean? I am like living testament. There's a want and need for books, for Black books, for Asian books, for Native books. I get that a lot. Do you know any Native books? Hispanic? Those are the two books. Anybody out there? You've got a Hispanic book, like, and I mean by a Hispanic writer. Like it has to want no white writer writing my Hispanic book. I want a Hispanic book, a Hispanic writer, Latin. I can be, Mexican, Dominican, Puerto Rican, whatever your background is. If it reflects in the book, I want it. And Native American. Those are the two books I've been asked about a lot. If I have any of those. So if anybody knows, if there's any authors watching, anybody know of any authors, I try to go the independent route. I want those books, those books that you can't find in Target. Get at me. I will put them on your table. I can't make any guarantees, but I've been doing pretty good. So horn. Toot, toot.
That's right.
In about a month, we're gonna do this again, and then Mona can toot my horn too, like toot toot, like
Yeah.
So
that's what's up. Yeah, I got a Latin one for you. I'll hook you up with him. He does children's books. So
you got
a Latin author, Latin story. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, because I got 3 events coming up that are in a Latin centered area of the city. Oh yeah, and they ask and they look, and then I'd be like, oh, I don't have anything for y'all. I'm sorry. Because it disappoints me when, they buy the other books, but I want to give them their representation.
Their own, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm telling y'all, it's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing when a little child be like, look, that's me. Yep, that's you. I tell them, yep, that's you. So, oh yes, I'm excited. Look at me. We're gonna
yes. Got you. All right. Well, wow, the hour went by very, very quickly. So, for those who are watching, I want to put Crown's book in your hands. So, I want you guys to go to crownthewriter.com and I want you to go check out Black Boy, Black Boy. She has her book. She's got coloring books, activity books, a whole bunch of different merch, like sling bag. I saw the cape. I need you to hook me up with how to make the cape because that's something I definitely wanted to do for my nephew. So yeah, definitely go check out crownthewriter.com. Where can they find you on social media to connect with you?
Crown the Writer, Instagram and Twitter is Crown the Writer. I believe Crown Shepherd is my Facebook. You can connect with me. Yeah, Crown the Writer. Anything Crown the Writer is more than likely me. If it's not me, somebody has stole my identity now.
That's right. That's right.
Like I did my research before I came up with that clever name because I know a writer. No, I was kidding.
That's what's up. All right. Well, great. I really enjoyed our class tonight. Thank you again so much for joining us here. And we wish you all the success that we know that you're going to have. This weekend, you have a live reading at the Global Flea Market. So if you guys are in Minneapolis, please be sure to go and check out Crown and pick you up some diverse stories. I mean, she's definitely bringing it out here for all of you. So yeah, any last words before we sign off?
Support each other. We all we got.
That's true. So true. So true. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Moana Nui podcast. You can find us online at moananuipodcast.com. Drop us an email or a note on our YouTube channel. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you're thinking. If you guys want to see more from Crown or other creators and authors that you might be interested or a fan of, we would love to have them on the channel as well. But in the meantime, take care. Malama pono, ahui ho, and we will see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.